आज की वीडियो में। और आज जो वीडियो हम लेकर आए हैं उसका टाइटल है 4 वेदास, तंत्रा, हीलिंग, ब्लैक मैजिक एंड मंत्रास, डॉक्टर राधाकृष्णन दी रणवीर शो। तो चलिए देख लेते हैं ये वीडियो। लेकिन इससे पहले इस वीडियो के चैनल का ओरिजिनल लिंक आपको मेरे वीडियो के डिस्क्रिप्शन मिल जाएगा। सब्सक्राइब करें, लाइक करें, शेयर को फॉलो करें इनके चैनल को। उसके अलावा मैं ब्लॉग चैनल का लिंक, इंस्टाग्राम का लिंक भी हमारी वीडियो के डिस्क्रिप्शन मिल जाएगा। सब्सक्राइब करें, लाइक करें, शेयर को फॉलो करें।
चलिए देख लेते हैं ये वीडियो।
In the Western world, there is something called as music healing. So let's say you're unwell. So if you actually listen to certain music for so many hours a day, you'll be surprised that element goes away. That's where bhajan comes in. So you need to have emotions and you should have intelligence also. So bhajans invoke that particular thing. That's why you have these different musical instruments, different ragas, and they invoke those particular bhav in you. Be careful next time you'll see some lemon being there, or maybe some vegetable with some colors around it and all. Don't go near it.
You mean like a plastic bag?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, don't even go behind it. You never know what they have invoked and put it on the road.
You see this a lot in Indian cities.
Oh, especially tier 2 cities.
Really? Like you just see some food lying down on the road in a
yes.
closed plastic bag. I've always assumed that someone's left it for beggars to eat.
No. You never know. So something which is unknown. Because what power they have put into that, you don't know.
So over the course of 3 years of running the show, we've spoken to scientists, we've spoken to astronauts, actors, sports people, entrepreneurs, people from all walks of life. But the data tells us that the hottest, most requested podcasts are related to dark concepts like black magic, like ghosts, like the occult in general. This is another conversation just like that, but with a slight spiritual bent. We broke down the 4 Vedas. This is a fantastic introductory podcast to the subject of Indian scriptures. This is Dr. Radhakrishnan Pillai, who returns on TRS once again. Make sure you follow TRS on Spotify. Every episode is available on Spotify 48 hours before it's available anywhere else in the world. Dr. RKP returns as an all-star on TRS once again.
Dr. RKP.
Dr. Radhakrishnan Pillai, welcome back to TRS.
It's always an honor sharing this platform with TRS, of course, with you, Ranveer. And what lovely conversations we had in the past. And thanks to the audience for giving us so many likes, of course, shares, and of course, meeting us and giving us so much positive feedback. Looking forward for this show also.
Yeah, I think yourself, Abhijit Chavda, Luke Coutinho, these 3 people have their own cult followings when it comes to this show. The switch up recently is that now we are making the show for international audiences as well. It's gone beyond India. India's always been a knowledge capital, sir. I think the world knows about the Bhagavad Gita, the Mahabharata, the Ramayana. What people don't know about is the texts that came before these texts, the texts that have mystical elements, and the texts that have talk about ghosts and talk about som and talk about psychedelics and talk about all these
Occult practices.
We're talking about the Vedas in this one, so I don't even know where to begin the story. So you help me out. Where do we begin?
I will begin with a story.
Okay.
So first of all, Vedas are called as Apurusheya. So let me explain that to you. Apurusha means not written by men.
Not written by men.
Or human beings. Purusha means human beings. Without the help of human beings, Vedas have been created.
So it was created by like an alien race?
No, I would say, let's look at the other way. Let's say you have a camera. Okay, somebody created it. And if that particular person wants to make a manual, how to use it properly. So it is the whole universe is created by God. So it is said that God only created the Vedas. But of course, he used one human being. And he was appointed to write down the Vedas. So the knowledge is in the universe. That person downloaded it. And the name of that person is Veda Vyas, whose birthday we celebrate as Guru Purnima. So we recently had Guru Purnima. And you'd be surprised. Veda Vyas is not the writer of Vedas or creator of Vedas. He is the one who actually compiled it and wrote it in human language.
Okay.
So if you look at the internet today, it's all there. You can't feel the internet, but you can use the internet. So the Vedas are actually knowledge of the universe.
So what I have understood is that the Bhagavad Gita is a compilation of the 4 Vedas. Is that accurate?
No. Actually, Bhagavad Gita is a part of Mahabharata, but it contains the essence of the Upanishads.
How is the Bhagavad Gita and Vedas related? It's not related at all?
So I would say they're all interconnected, but Bhagavad Gita is a part of Mahabharata. So
Okay.
let me go back and say there are actually 4 Vedas. It's classified, the whole knowledge. The first one is called Rig Ved, Sam Ved, Yajur Ved, and of course we have the Atharva Ved, where all the occult practices and lot of rituals are mentioned. They're all different methods of reaching the same God.
Different methods.
Methods.
So you can just study one very well and still get moksha or
But
nirvana.
let us not forget to have the guidance of a guru while we are studying.
Why?
Because reading a book doesn't give you knowledge. Discussion with a master gives you the knowledge.
Where would you like to begin this explanation of the Vedas? Like which one would you like to start with?
Rig Ved, the first one.
Okay.
So during those days, they used to invoke natural elements. In fact, Rig Veda starts with invoking Agni, that is fire god.
Okay. Invoking means inviting?
I think both can be the common word. Invoking, inviting is the same. For example, in India, even today, the first god that is worshipped is actually fire god.
You mean when you're doing a puja, like when you're praying,
Yeah,
you light
absolutely.
a diya.
Housewarming, weddings. What do you keep? Agni Sakshi
What does Sakshi mean?
as a witness.
Okay.
So when we are, doing any ceremony, it is fire god that is invoked. In Rig Veda, the first god that is invoked is actually fire god. But of course, there are elements. You can see that in Western movies, the 5 elements and all. So water is there, fire is there, Vayu is there. So in fact, if you look at the Indian Navy, if you look at their logo, it talks about Shanno Varunaha. Varuna means sea or water god. So in the Rig Veda, we invoke the natural powers of natural elements.
So how would you kind of explain the Rig Veda from a macro perspective? What is in that overall book? Like if I had to explain autobiography of a yogi, I'd say that it's a good introduction to the world of yoga and spirituality. What's the Rig Veda?
So Rig Veda is the introduction to the powers of the natural element which you can invoke in your life.
And inside your own body as well.
Yes, of course. Because let's say I require a particular temperature. If it goes down or if it goes higher, then I am not well.
You mean your body has a natural temperature? I think it's 37.5 if I'm
Yes,
not mistaken,
yes,
degrees
yes,
Celsius.
yes.
But if there's too much heat in your body, say you're eating too much spicy food, you're eating a
Yes.
lot of meat, you're eating processed food, heat increases.
Yes.
The Rig Veda possibly has yogic techniques or
Yes.
food
Yes.
knowledge, information about foods that cools down your body.
Yes.
Parallelly, if your body's too cold, it has information about how to heat up your body. But what else beyond just fire and temperature?
So there are many natural elements. So they are all invoking the different nature elements. So
Okay.
that's Rig Veda.
Okay. What's there deeper in the book? Like when you say invoking is there a list of mantras?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe for the Western audiences, can you explain what a mantra is?
Yeah. So mantra is something that you discover to invoke the natural elements. For example, if you're seeing any puja, there is a particular Panditji who will invoke that Lord.
Okay. Here's how I understand mantras. I still look down upon bhajans. The word bhajan is basically, you can think of it, the Catholic parallel, the Christian parallel is hymn. Like
Hymn,
religious
yes.
songs.
Yes.
I still question what the logic behind that is. As I grew older and I discovered bhajans and kirtans, I've realized that they're all made in very particular tunes.
Yes.
And if you sing along or if you even hum along with it, it kind of changes your breathing pattern slightly. Your breath always has an effect on your heartbeat, and your heartbeat always has an effect on your perception of reality because it affects your mind.
Yes.
Therefore, bhajans affect how calm you feel. They usually calm you down.
Oh, interestingly, we have heard about astral travel and also planchets. Have you heard about planchets?
No.
So what happens in the Western culture? Suppose you have to invoke a dead soul. You can actually invoke them and get them in a physical form.
Ouija boards.
Yeah,
Ouija boards.
Exactly. So let me give an example in the Mahabharata. How were the 5 Pandavas born? So their mother Kunti actually could invoke the Devatas. So if you look at it, there was no biological way of producing these children. So how did they happen? So all these 5 Pandavas were actually the children of gods. So Kunti had the power of invoking the mantras and these particular gods. So if you look at, for example, Bhim. Bhim is supposed to be Vayu Putra, coming back to Rig Veda.
The son of wind.
Wind. And he is the brother of Hanuman, who is also son of wind. So she invokes, and then Hanumanji is not born, but in this particular case, we have Bhim born. So these 5 Pandavas were actually born to Kunti by invoking through these mantras. In fact, it is said that there are different eras. Like today, we are living in a digital era. During the Mahabharata or the Vedic era, it was a full era of mantras. I'll give you an example. If you look at the Mahabharata war, you must have seen some television serials. They never had missiles like what we make today. They could take a blade of grass and they would invoke a mantra, and that particular blade of grass actually became a missile, a Brahmastra. So Brahmastra is not the discovery of a missile or the invention of a missile in a particular laboratory, like modern day warfare. It is actually invoking the mantras and giving the power to that little blade of glass, which can actually act as an arrow.
Let's talk about Brahmastra a little bit, because now that's the hot topic. So Brahmastra is a movie being created by Ayan Mukherjee. It has Ranveer Kapoor and Alia, but it aims to kind of, I won't call it give India its own superhero genre, but it's giving India its own cultural genre, because they are inspired from ancient Indian culture, which contains a lot of elements related to superheroes and superpowers and mystical elements just like this. In the Mahabharata, there is a particular weapon called the Brahmastra, which I believe Arjun, who's the main hero basically of the Mahabharata in some ways, what do you say? While there's a bunch of heroes, he's supposed to be the most fearsome warrior and the best at warfare, and he comes out at the top in the end. He gets the Brahmastra as a gift from Shivji, from Shiva, after meditating over it, after performing some kind of penance. But Shivji, I believe, only gives him a limited number, 1 or 2 of them or something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, sir. And he tells Arjun to only use it when it's truly required. Now, parallelly, Arjun's guru, Dronacharya, has also got a Brahmastra of his own. Now, eventually in the war, Arjun has to face his own guru because of circumstance. During the course of the 18-day war, the guru, Dronacharya, is killed, but he gives his Brahmastra to his son Ashwathama. Once the war is done, Arjun and the Pandavas are victorious. Ashwathama is the only enemy of theirs who's still alive after the war. And as a form of revenge, he decides to use the Brahmastra on the last heir to the Pandavas. So Ashwathama is responsible for killing all the children of the Pandavas, all the grandchildren. But there's one particular wife of Abhimanyu, who was the son of Arjun, who's still alive after Ashwathama's attack, and she's pregnant at the time. And he takes the Brahmastra and targets it at her belly, and I think he fires it as well. He's able to kill the wife, the child, and Krishna, who's the avatar of Vishnu at that point, curses him and undoes his act. He basically brings the child and the mother back to life. I think it's just the child back to life. I don't remember the exact details. But he curses Ashwathama, saying, the kind of pain you've created, you're going to have to face this pain for eternity. And he kind of gives him an injury on his forehead and also turns him immortal. He says that immortality along with this pain will be your curse for what you've done. He brings the child back to life, and that child who faced the brunt of the Brahmastra eventually becomes the heir to the Pandavas, and he continues the legacy. I don't remember.
So I will continue the story.
Yeah, sure.
The name of the child is Parikshit.
Parikshit. What does that mean?
Pariksha.
Okay.
Examining. So I'll tell you, this is absolutely right. Brahmastra is the most powerful weapon. It can destroy anything and everything.
Okay.
So as you rightly pointed out, it's like a nuclear weapon in today's generation. Look at what happened to Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And now all over the world people are saying don't use the nuclear weapon. It's a very, very, very rare case that you should use it. So Ashwathama used it, but Krishna was so angry that he said wait. So he protects the child. And when the child comes out, he's looking out who was my protector. That's why Pariksha Karne Wala. As they say, he was examining. He was actually looking out for Krishna. So that's how the name Parikshit comes in.
Okay. So this is me switching off as the podcaster and just becoming a student of Radha, sir. You dealt with a very important life event less than 6 months ago. I don't want to say anything. Why don't you just share it with the audience yourself?
So I'll tell you, I had a small issue just 6 months back. It so happened that I started throwing up, vomiting, and then it was not stopping. There was nothing in my stomach, so my wife and my friends and everybody took me to a hospital. Fortunately, the doctor is also a student of mine. So they diagnosed it and saying that because of the BP being shot up, it affected my brain. There was a small bleeding, and I was hospitalized for 10 days, and then of course I came out. Thanks to the doctors, the whole team and the whole family, of course, my wife Sureka helped me recover. But I realized one very important thing. I recovered so fast because of two things. One is the spiritual thing. My father told me, remember, this is a positive thing. Imagine if I had got this maybe when I was 80. It could have been fatal. But you'll be surprised, I lost a lot of weight. I came back into that positive state of mind. And believe me, it is only because of the spiritual practice that my health is recovered.
Meeting your father is also its own experience. Taking away nothing from the experience that you had. Like, meeting your father is just mystical almost. Like, he's got this very different energy about him. Always got peace and happiness, joy on his face. He meditates 8 hours a day.
8 to 10 hours.
10 hours a day. How did he take this whole health situation happening?
Same thing like me. When he was around 45 years old, he went through a health element and he was hospitalized. I still remember I was a child, hardly in 4th or 5th standard. And that time he discovered that, he need to go into the spiritual path. So today he's 88 years old and he climbed the Himalayas.
Wow.
Were you in pain when this was happening?
No, not at all.
There was no physical pain? But you were in hospital.
But because I had a spiritual bent of mine, my doctor asked me first, how do you visualize yourself? I said, I am visualizing myself as more stronger and fitter after this. I think that's how you should be. Remember one thing, whenever you are sick, it is not the body or the doctor alone. It's the state of mind that and if you visualize yourself to be perfectly fine, you will become. In fact, I just want to say that, when I was not well, Nase rog hare sab pira japat nirantar hanumat veera. So, Nase rog. So, the elements of disease will go away if you continuously chant Hanuman ji. So believe me, that is only one part of the whole Hanuman Chalisa. We know of so many people. I know of an experiment being done by a Rishi. Rishi means a friend of mine who's a scientist, is a Sanskrit scholar. So I told him there is one person who's not well. He said, give me his background. So he was almost in the stage of death. He went back to the Vedas. He found out a particular mantra and he chanted it over 7 days and the person recovered back to health. So mantras can be generic and mantras can be specific. In fact, if you look at the rituals that we follow in our particular culture, it is actually getting that positive vibe. So let me give an example. If you look at the Vastu Shanti that we do. So when you do a housewarming ceremony in our country, so we do a Vastu Puja. What is a Vastu Puja? Vastu is a space. So the Panditji will come, he will invoke Ganeshji, he will do those mantra chanting and they say, wow. Because whenever you have to freshen up, you go and take a bath. What about the space? You actually do this mantra chanting. Another example of making anything pure and divine is through certain rituals. Like for example, in weddings, we have this Vedic weddings where there is a mantra being chanted. So please understand, mantras are very scientific, but we need to get a good scientist who can explain this to us.
Or at least someone who's educated
Yes.
about these rituals. I think rituals generally with people my age, definitely with people younger than me, have a very bad name because people associate rituals with godmen. Like, how godmen have a bad name in our country. People associate rituals with old school thinking.
Now I'll tell you what the problem is. I've identified the reality. So, in my parents' generation understood rituals as Shraddha. Just have faith in godmen or that Panditji. But your generation is a highly educated generation. You want logic. And if the Panditji is not able to explain it logically, you don't have faith in it. So initially it worked with faith. But today it is working with logic first and then faith later.
So that was the Rig Ved, where we went on these tangents about mantras. Which is the Veda that you want to talk about next?
So second is Sama Veda. Now the Sama Veda is very interesting. It talks about music.
Just music.
So music and different formats. So if you want to be in the artist side, this is the Veda for you. In fact, all our compositions are in poetic formats. So if you look at all the Upanishads, if you look at the Ramayana and Mahabharata, they're all poems. So you'll be surprised. So Sama Veda is something about music.
What is music? What is music for you? Like now everyone knows what music is. It's these tunes, words put together, and you say it in a certain frequency and that becomes music. But what about ancient human beings?
So
What
if you
was
look at
music
the
for
Indian classical music, they're connected to nature. And the easiest form to understand is ragas.
them? Okay.
So there's a morning raga, there is an evening raga, there is an afternoon raga.
Again, probably the logic behind this is that the ragas are made in a particular tune which controls your breath if you take part in it, which controls your heartbeat, which controls your mind. So it's again for meditative purposes. A friend of mine, Arman Malik, he's a very big playback singer in Bollywood. He was talking to me once about how his Riyaz practice, just training his throat to be able to become a better singer. And Riyaz is also one of those meditative practices that can help you evolve spiritually and make you a better musician. It works exactly like meditation.
Can you believe this? You pointed out something nice. The practice of a musician and the practice of a spiritual seeker has got a common word called sadhana.
Really?
So when you say you are practicing music, actual guru will tell you sadhana karo. So that music is not just practicing or making your throat better. It's actually reaching you towards God.
It's a discipline.
It's a discipline.
That's basically what Riyaz is. Then.
Yes. Riya's better word in Sanskrit is sadhana.
Okay. So basically what I figured is your throat is also like a muscle.
Yes.
In the same way that you do your Hatha Yoga, which is your
Yes,
asanas,
yes.
which kind of makes your body flexible, stronger. Riyaz, sadhana, these things are able to work your throat and you're able to have more
Practice
control.
makes you perfect.
Okay. Parallelly, I'd like to state that music is what feelings sound like.
Yes.
That's one of the ways that music as a concept is described. Like today, if an alien race visited Earth and didn't have a concept of music in their own culture, this is probably how we'd explain music to them. We feel certain things that we're not able to express through words, and that comes out as music through these instruments.
In the Western world, there is something called as music healing. So you must have heard about
Yeah.
it. So let's say you're unwell. So if you actually listen to certain music for so many hours a day, you'll be surprised that element goes away. In fact, I read a very interesting research paper. If you have a health element, listen to a particular music for 10 minutes every day for 1 month. And before after you check the disease, you'll be surprised it goes away.
Why is the Samved entirely about music? What is in it?
So because music is such an internal part of our civilization, human race, that without music, we cannot survive. So let me give you an example.
Sure.
So let's say you're watching a movie. One of the very important elements of a movie is background music.
Because it makes you feel a certain way.
The emotions
Change
are
our
invoked.
emotions.
Like let's say we are making this video with lot of background music. You will feel connected to it. If it's very blunt and plain, you will say okay. You lose interest. That's why actually background music is very important part of filmmaking, film editing,
Or any form of creativity.
any creativity. So think about, without music, you cannot survive on this particular planet. And let me tell you, even though you're logical, Western research has proven it. We need to be emotionally intelligent. That's where bhajan comes in. So you need to have emotions and you should have intelligence also. So bhajans invoke that particular thing. That's why you have these different musical instruments, different ragas, and they invoke those particular bhav in you.
Yeah, I hear you, sir, and I understand it and I've absorbed it. I still don't understand how an entire Veda can be just about music. Maybe it's because of my limited musical understanding, and I know that it's an unlimited subject.
Yes. So I would say my knowledge is also limited, but think about our rishis. They wrote a whole Veda on only music.
Does the Samveda also contain some sort of bhajans, I'm assuming?
So bhajans is a format that we use today in our generation.
Okay.
But understanding the musical notes, what we call sa re ga ma pa da ni sa, and their different formats. So I would say
do, re, mi. It's the Indian version of it.
Yes, sir. So Westerners have a beautiful idea of getting into details. So there are different notes, different scales. So the same thing has been done in our way, but the difference is for us music was a connection to God, not just a performance. So if music can't reach you God, then what kind of music is it?
What's the point?
Point the point. And Bharat Muni, another great rishi, who actually wrote the Natya Shastra, talks about Samaveda in detail. So maybe we can get a music expert to speak on Samaveda.
Okay, let's talk about the next Veda for now.
So Rig Ved, Samved, Yajur Ved.
Okay.
Lot of rituals that we talk about, it's there in Yajur Ved.
Okay.
So we have a great culture in India, and one of the philosophies is called Mimamsa.
What?
Mimamsa philosophy. Maybe we can have a separate discussion on the 9 Indian philosophies.
Okay.
Vedanta is just one of them.
What is Vedanta, the word?
Okay. So if we look at it, if you split the word Veda and Anta, the essence of the Vedas is called Vedanta, which is primarily written in the Upanishads.
Like the summary of the Vedas.
Summary of the Vedas, essence of the Vedas.
What does that mean?
So let me put it this way, like 4 Vedas we're talking about, they are sub-classified into another 4 subcategories.
Like each has its own 4 subcategories.
So they are called the Samhitas, Aranyakas, Brahmanas and Upanishads. So Upanishad is a discussion between the Guru and the Shishya. And there are 18 main Upanishads, and now new Upanishads have been discovered. And there are more than 108 Upanishads.
It's sort of maybe sequels to the Vedas to understand the Vedas better.
So it's like this, let me put it in an example. Let's say you go to a doctor who has studied all the medical science. Now you're not interested in studying the whole knowledge of the medical science which the doctor must have spent 4 years to understand. You want an immediate solution. And you say, yaar, mera pet dukh raha hai, my stomach is aching, there is some problem. Now you give me the essence of your knowledge. So what the doctor or she will do is prescribe you some pills or medicine. So that's an essence. That doesn't mean he only can do that. He has done research for so many years. So if spirituality in India, the philosophy of India, can be summarized in essence, that is Vedanta.
Okay.
So the essence of the Vedas is Vedanta, which is contained in the Upanishads.
Wow, okay. This is like a subject that just keeps getting unpacked. But keeping in mind the occult theme of the show, we've got to get to the
Fourth Veda.
Yeah, the fourth Veda, the highlight of this episode, sir. I don't even know where do you begin explaining what occult even means. Otherworldly, ghosts, demons. There's so many occult elements in our culture that I don't know where to begin. It probably begins in the Atharva Ved.
Yes, it does.
I know it's a subject that fascinates you as well. Have you gotten to reading the Atharva Ved yourself?
Yes.
How did they start it?
So let me put it the other way. Chanakya was a person who studied the Atharva Veda and he wrote the Artha Shastra. In the Artha Shastra, there are a lot of occult practices.
Which are derived from the Atharva.
Yes. In fact, it is called the fourth Veda. Till Chanakya's time, it was only 3 Vedas. So one of the readings, one of the scholars said, Rig Ved, Samved and Yajur Ved were actually the original Vedas. The fourth got added. A lot of people don't believe in it. That is a personal choice. But in our country, even today, the occult practices happen.
Okay.
They are dark, they are, undercurrent, but they do happen.
Where do they happen?
So they happen in a lot of families, and I have seen a lot of politicians using it.
Really?
Of course. And let me tell you, next time when you have elections going around, you'll be surprised. These politicians use a lot of these occult practices because they're in the power game.
Yeah. Let's just talk about Tantricism.
Yeah.
Is it correct to say Tantricism is an occult practice?
Yes, there are elements of occult in Tantra.
What is Tantra? What does the word Tantra mean?
So there are mantra, yantra and Tantra.
Mantra is what we spoke about,
Yes.
which are the words to invoke blessings or frequencies. What's a yantra?
Yantra is an instrument.
Like a weapon or...
Yeah. Even let's say, we have some instrument that we use. So that is yantra.
Like, for example...
Mobile phone is a yantra.
Okay. And there are yantras in ancient Hinduism.
Yeah,
also.
there is Sri Yantra.
What is that?
So it's a very interesting. Go and Google it. Sri Yantra is a powerful yantra. You can invoke Goddess Lakshmi through that.
Goddess Lakshmi means wealth.
Wealth, yeah. If you want to be powerful, especially with money, money is wealth power.
Would you say the equivalent in the modern day are these like crystals?
Feng Shui and all those. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
the crystals would
They're
be
yantras,
a yantra.
Yes. And Tantra is the process.
Speaking about crystals, I've never understood the exact logic, but I will say this, that the first time I ever saw a crystal shop in Goa, it was a tiny, horrible looking shop, but I was just so drawn to it. I didn't know why. Just those crystals hold some sort of positive vibe, and they're supposed to have different purposes. We've kept some here, some in my room, and I do feel it changes the energy of
It does.
your space.
It does.
But that's a yantra, and this is one form of yantra. I'm sure like a Rudraksh should be another yantra.
Yes, it is.
What does a Rudraksh do? Like, why does
And
it
even
have...
if you look at pyramids being kept in many places, they attract energies.
Okay, like you mean Egypt and the Mayan pyramids?
Not only that, I think any triangular structure, you must have seen a lot of houses in India having pyramids being kept.
I mean, even many temples that are made in India.
Yes.
Maybe there are some...
If you look at the Kalash, the top of the temple, they're in a particular format, made of certain metals. So next time you go to a temple, a good ancient architectural temple, you'll be surprised. You'll have a Kalash on the top.
Again, the reason science doesn't agree with all this is because there hasn't been enough scientific research that's done about this. I'm sure if you go and measure the electromagnetism there, you might find some differences. I mean, we've just not seen enough research yet.
Because we're not looking at it scientifically. Till our parents' generation, when we went to a temple, it was a matter of faith. But today it's a matter of logic. So look at all the temple architecture logically, scientifically, and measure it. It's actually energy management.
Okay. Are you familiar with Rudrakshas?
Yes.
What is the purpose of a Rudraksh?
So Rudraksh, as you know, is a seed of a tree. And it is generally connected with Lord Shiva. So we call him a Rudra avatar, and Shivji and their bhaktas use Rudraksh a lot. And it has been proven scientifically also that people who do chanting on Rudraksha Mala actually get those energies. In fact, there are cases where they wear the Rudraksha Mala also.
Get those energies, you mean like you get the blessings of Shiva in the same way that a mantra, a
Yes.
Shiva mantra would
Yes,
get you
yes.
Shiva's blessings?
Yes.
Just by wearing a Rudraksh or meditating
Yes,
upon
yes,
it,
yes.
you're able to attract it better.
Yes. And don't make it a style icon. A lot of people like to wear it and show it off. That's not the point. Yes, you can also show it off, you can wear it. It's like, saying that let's say you keep an ice on your body. It does have an effect on your body and the mind also, cooling effect. In the same way, all these yantras actually have an effect on your body also.
Yeah, like in Islam, there's Taweez concept. It's probably the same thing. It's a form of a
यही
yantra.
सोच
Yes.
रही थी.
What I do want to ask you is black magic, like things like Kala Jadoo, where you always hear of these stories even in cities where someone's given someone else like a pendant to wear or something to wear, like a bracelet to wear, and then stuff starts going wrong
Yes,
for that person. Like I actually had a cousin who had an experience where someone had given him a bracelet to wear, and he started getting horrible injuries. And eventually, someone from his mom's side of the family told him that, why are you wearing that? They were able to spot something in that bracelet
Yeah.
and kind of made him take it off and did like a bit of some kind of a puja on him. He claims that his life got much better after that.
yeah.
But that would be like a yantra used for something negative.
Negative, yes.
But when you do so-called Kala Jadoo on someone, is there some sort of a gain for you as the practitioner of Kala Jadoo?
But that's a selfish gain. So you're trying to destroy somebody else for your benefit. And a lot of people still do that. Especially those people who are jealous, don't want the other person to succeed. In fact, what I like about you, especially your generation, is very collaborative. If you like to work with another YouTuber, you don't feel insecure. Saying that, okay, let me work with this guy, let me help him or her, and she may indirectly or directly help you also. So I would say go beyond competition. In a few generations ago, there was a theory called survival of the fittest. So if you succeed, I am at loss. So how do I make you go down? So one of this is occult practices. But luckily for our generation, it is teamwork. If you succeed, I am happy. And your success may lead to my success. So I think this is a very negative way. That's why it's called tamasic vidya. Not a very great thing, but you are right. I also know of cases. Sometimes when you go on the road, be careful next time you'll see some lemon being there, or maybe some vegetable with some colors around it and all. Don't go near it.
You mean like a plastic bag?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, don't even go behind it. You never know what they have invoked and put it on the road.
You see this a lot in Indian cities.
Oh, especially tier 2 cities.
Really? Like you just see some food lying down on the
Yes,
road
yes,
in a closed plastic bag. I've always assumed that someone's left it for beggars to eat.
No. You never know. So something which is unknown, because what power they have put into that, you don't know.
What is the way to protect yourself against black magic? Is it just a spiritual path and meditation?
Very beautiful question. And I'll tell you a simple answer. Your spiritual guru can save you from black magic. So suppose you get that feeling that somebody is trying this on you. You should have a guru, or at least go and chant some positive mantra. I know of an example where a person, actually it was in a Western culture. Okay, this particular person in their particular country was using black magic, and immediately he didn't know what to do. And in the Western culture they use cross as a positive symbol. So he wore the cross and started chanting the name of hymns of Jesus. Believe me, he came out. So the way to attack negativity is not use more negativity, but stay positive. And if you have a guru, there are a lot of signs you start getting nightmares. So nightmares, if you get, what do you do? And if it is continuously getting repeated, I know of a case, a child used to get up at 1 o'clock in the night continuously and used to scream. And this child, maybe 1 day, 2 days, it was looking like a nightmare. And the mother and the father got really worried. And the child was hardly 4 years old. So she could not express what the problem was that. So they went to doctors and they went to psychologists. And as there is a beautiful saying, when allopathy doesn't work, when homeopathy doesn't work, then Tirupati works. So they went to this family priest In India, every particular family will have a priest. It is called Kura Guru, not Cool Guru, Kula Guru. And the Kula Guru saw this and thinking somebody is using some black magic against this child. And it was a real case. So what is the solution? So they said, no, let us do this particular puja. So they did a counter thing, not against that person, to make that negativity come back. And believe me, after that puja was completed, that whole nightmare started going away and she could sleep peacefully.
Do dreams and nightmares hold any significance in our culture?
100%. In our Indian culture, it is very clear that what you dream is actually part of your being.
Okay, let me break that down. So there's a concept called Sharir Traya,
Yeah.
which means that anyone's body or anyone's sense of self is made up of three parts.
Yes.
The physical body, which is
Sthula
Sharir. The astral body, which is sort of your ghost.
Yeah.
That is the Sukshma Sharir. And the Karan Sharir, which is your causal body or your soul. It's just
This
pure
is
light.
Vedanta. This is Vedanta.
Okay. And this whole concept is called Sharir Traya.
Yeah.
So now continue, sir. So it's related to the astral body. That's what you're trying to say.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So your body is not only this body. Today we have aura readings also. So there are colors of aura. In fact, now in the Western world, they have started discovering instruments to measure your aura.
Okay.
So if you are a sattvic person, more on the spiritual side, there is an element we can measure. It's more white in color. If you are on a darker side, you can make out. So I have met sages, Mahatmas. By looking at your body, they can tell you that you are not a nice person or a nice person. Like for example, certain people when you meet, you don't connect to them because they say the vibes don't match. What do you mean by vibes? The thought process doesn't match. Somewhere you feel repulsive, or sometimes you feel attracted. And that's why it's very important to know that this Karan Sharir, Sukshma Sharir and Sthula Sharir are all interrelated. So coming back to your dreams, it's actually what you believe yourself and what you think about in the daytime when you are awake. It is a reflection of what you see in the night time.
Okay.
So that's why the counter to it is positive affirmations, the law of attraction. So if you chant the affirmations, in our culture we call it mantras.
Okay.
So if you use it, all these negative thoughts will go away and you become a positive person.
Sort of like the gym for your soul.
Yes, absolutely. Mental gym.
Let's end with one kind of question I've had for a while recently, which is the spine and its role in our culture, its role in spiritualism. People don't understand how important a role your spine and your back plays in your own spiritual growth. Parallelly, let's briefly speak about Kundalini as well, sir. Would you like to begin
In
this
fact,
topic?
that is my current topic of research.
Kundalini?
Kundalini and spine.
Let's kind of give the listener some perspective if someone doesn't know anything about what we're talking about.
So the spine in Indian culture is called as Meru Danda.
Okay?
Meru Danda. Meru means the center. Danda means your spine, which is like a danda or a bone. You'll be surprised if if your spine is fit, you are healthy. That's why the biggest and the most perfect exercise according to Indian culture or yoga is Surya Namaskar. And there are people whom I know and probably you must have heard who do 108 Surya Namaskars per day. What is the most important? The whole body gets exercised, but most important is the spine. So today research has been done about spine being the most important part of your body. And also the gut.
Structure pura kar
It's not just the brain. All these are interconnected. Coming back to Kundalini, there are 7 chakras. It starts from below and it goes up till here. But it's all through the spinal root. So they are very subtle. You can't see them. But the Westerners have already started doing research on that.
Yeah, I think it coincides with important organs and glands
Yes.
in your body.
Yes.
For example, your throat chakra is at the same place as your thyroid gland.
Yes.
Your third eye chakra is at the same place as your pineal gland.
Yes.
Your heart chakra is at the same place as your
Yes.
heart. Solar plexus is at the same place as your stomach.
Yes.
Your peace chakra, your hara chakra is at the same place as your intestine, your gut.
Yeah.
And your sex chakra, your lowest chakra is at the same place as your sex organ.
Yes.
So that's the kind of Western analogy on
No, in
chakras.
fact, since you brought out my health issue, actually I was advised by a spiritual guru that my solar plexus has to be, invocated. So I used to do pranayam every day. And the day I threw up, actually all my toxins came out and the chakra got clear. So it's detoxification. So sometimes sickness is good.
Yeah, that's why when you fall ill, when there's a change of seasons,
Yes.
a lot of people look down upon that thought. They say it's unscientific. How can you say that a change of season actually makes you fall ill? Ayurveda says that it does. It's basically your body getting
Detoxified.
releasing your toxins
Yes.
through your sneezing, through your coughs.
Absolutely. So the elements goes away and it purifies you. And Kundalini Shastra is part of Yoga Shastra.
Kundalini Shastras, I'm assuming a mystical element of yoga.
Yes.
Kundalini is supposed to be a pool of energy that's hidden inside every human body.
Every human being.
And they say that at the moment of moksha, at the moment you achieve nirvana, your Kundalini rises through your spine and joins with your third eye chakra, your Ajna chakra.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the next human form. Like when we think that we have reached a final state of evolution, there is one more stage.
But I want to tell you a story about this. I know of a highly evolved management guru. Okay, and he was in Gujarat. Very great motivational speaker he was. And one day he was dead. So when the wife went to him immediately in the morning, he was lying dead. She called the doctor. So the doctor analyzed it and he is no more. But the analysis given from a Western standpoint was that he had a brain hemorrhage. But the wife did not accept it, saying that now I know the reason of his death. So the wife was telling me, actually one yogi had told him when he was alive that you will get moksha and you will die in a spiritual state of mind. So from a Western perspective, the whole blood came and he had this brain hemorrhage and that's why he died. But from a spiritual angle, that's the kundalini that awoke and he left through this particular part. And let me tell you friends, if you look at all small babies, have you touched this part of it? They're very soft. If you have a baby less than 1 year in your family, just hold the baby and touch this part. You'll be surprised this particular skull over here has got a pathway to enter and exit. So if you can exit your prana through this particular path, your kundalini has awakened and you'll 100% get moksha.
In Hindu culture, every god brings their own blessings. For example, if you pray to Hanumanji, you're supposed to gain strength, gain humility, gain mental strength and stability. If you pray to Shiva, you gain power, you gain a sense of detachment. When you pray to Mata or the mother god in Hinduism, what I've understood is you're supposed to pray to her for extremely lofty material gains. If you want to gain power, if you want to have that next big jump in your life. But two, if you're going to pray to her, you need to understand that it's energy that cannot be handled by everyone. This is what I've understood. And you have to work your way up. You can't just directly pray to her. You have to probably pray to other gods first and then earn your right to pray to her. Some people naturally sense sort of an attraction to praying to Mata.
So I'll explain that to you.
Yeah.
In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 17 talks about this.
Mata energy.
Not exactly Mata, but the kind of a prayers you do.
Okay.
So they say the Sattvic people, the pure souls, pray to gods. So everything is about, let's say, Hanumanji, Ramji and all those things. But the people in between who are Rajasic, who want power, will pray to demigods, not gods. So demigods are Yaksha, Kinnaras, Gandharvas. They are not fully gods, but they're not fully human beings also. But they have certain powers.
And there's nothing wrong in being Rajasic. It depends on...
No, it depends on your nature. And the last is called Tamasic. They will pray to ghosts. They will pray to dead bodies. So the people who are actually wanting the lowest powers, that's where the sexuality part of it. They practice all these in Smashan, in lot of negative places where if you are a pure person, you go, you cannot connect. But if you want to evolve, it's better to start by praying to the gods, because that is the sattvic one. But there are people in the society who pray to demigods.
Where do you think this prayer to Mata fits in? Is it?
So it again depends on which Mata are you invoking.
Okay.
So there are so many people within Devis also. There are formats like Tantra is a part of Devi Puja also. So certain Devis can give you that. But so when you say Mata, for me, my first thing about Mata is my mother, who is pure, who loves me unconditionally.
What is the element of your own parents in Hindu culture? And that's what I love about India, that it celebrates parenthood so much, which is why we don't leave our parents.
Very clear. In fact, we are talking about Vedas. In fact, Upanishads. You should study the Upanishad, and Taittiriya Upanishad is a very interesting Upanishad for young generation students. In that he says, after you pass out, graduation ceremony, you should pray to 4 people throughout your life. Matru Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava, and Atiti Devo Bhava.
Your mother,
Mother,
your father,
your teacher, Acharya, and Atiti, your visitor guest.
your guest.
You know, today everybody wants to go to meet somebody only after taking an appointment. But if somebody comes and rings the bell, you don't like it. Why have you come? But he may be coming in a God's format, or a God may be coming in his format. So sometimes unplanned guest can be an opportunity for success. So the importance in our Indian culture is that parents, mother is your first guru, father is your second guru, teacher in the school, college or Gurukul is your third guru, and anybody and everybody who comes is your guru forever. Mahabharata says this, you know, the downfall of the mighty. So there is a question being asked, why do the mighty fall? Because they have not respected elders. And if you respect elders, a common man can also become a billionaire or a successful person.
RKP sir, another fantastic episode.
More to go.
Yeah. Don't have much to say to you. I said the same thing to Luke Coutinho. There's nothing I could say to you that I've not already said. So thank you for being on the show again. What I'll ask the listeners and the viewers to do is drop your comments. What other topics would you like us to break down? RKP sir is an all-star on TRS and he's going to be back. Any last message for the viewers, sir?
Study your own scriptures.
Okay, there's a lot to unpack.
Lots. You're only looking at the tip of the iceberg. Deep within, all that we are covering is nothing but our own great Indian culture. And I would go to the extent of telling, you know, it's a global culture.
Yeah.
Across the globe, wherever you're listening to this particular show, try to study the wisdom of the ages and you will be a different person with a purpose.
RKP sir, thank you once again. So that was the episode for today. One of the practices that we've begun on this podcast is that we cut it into clips and we upload it on our highlights channel. And TRS Clips as a channel has even more content sometimes than the actual podcast, because the podcast we tailor make for the podcast audience. So if you want even more knowledge, you've got to go check out TRS Clips. As for this conversation, there's nothing about Dr. RKP that I haven't already said. I want you guys to tell me in the comment section, DM me, tell me what other topics you'd like us to break down. We have a ritual of meeting every 6 months and exchanging ideas just like this. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation. Conversations just like this makes you follow us on Spotify. Every episode's available on Spotify 48 hours before it's available anywhere else in the world. BeerBiceps and these collaborations with Dr. Radhakrishnan Pillai will be back very, very soon.
इंडियन कल्चर की बात की जाए, इंडियन हिस्ट्री की बात की जाए तो उसमें आपको एक चीज़ जो है वो बहुत ज़्यादा देखने को मिलती है जो कि नॉलेज है। और अगर हम अतीत में भी बात करें तो आपको जो है इंडियन सब कॉन्टिनेंट जो है वो नॉलेज कैपिटल भी आप इसे कह सकते हैं, देखने को मिलती है ये चीज़। जितनी भी यहाँ की बुक्स हैं, जितना भी नॉलेज है डिफरेंट रिलीजन्स का, आपको चीज़ देखने को मिलती है।
अच्छा, सबसे पहले तो भाई मैं डिस्कशन शुरू करने से पहले डॉक्टर राधा कृष्ण जी को उनको बधाई देना चाहती हूँ कि उनकी तबीयत ठीक हो गई है और जो उन्होंने एक प्रोसेस बताया अपना वो भी बहुत ज्यादा इंफॉर्मेटिव है। अच्छा, आजकल मेरे साथ इस तरह से हो रहा है कि लाइक मैं जो चीजें जो बातें करती हूँ ना, पता नहीं वो किसी ना किसी फॉर्म में मेरे सामने आती
कंप्लीट हो जाती हैं।
नहीं, कंप्लीट नहीं आती, उससे रिलेटेड मुझे इंफॉर्मेशन मिलना शुरू हो जाती है। जैसे बीच में बहुत सारी चीजें ऐसी हैं जो डिस्कस की गई हैं इसके अंदर। मैं अक्सर औकात अपने घर वालों के साथ, अपनी बहनों के साथ, इवन इसके साथ भी डिस्कस करती रहती हूँ। तो वो चीज़ फिर मुझे कहीं ना कहीं पर क्लिक करती है कि कहीं पर आपकी इंटेंशन ऐसी थी तो आपके सामने वही चीज़ें आना शुरू हो जाती हैं। बाकी अगर हम लोग बात करें तो मैं कहूँगी कि इसमें बहुत सारी चीज़ें जो हैं वो कवर की गई हैं। जैसे कि 4 वेदास की अगर हम लोग बात करें तो मुझे अभी भी थोड़ी कन्फ्यूजन है 2 वेदा के बीच में, मुझे इतनी अच्छे से समझ नहीं आई क्योंकि ऋग्वेद और जो मतलब उसके साथ साथ
यजुर्वेद,
यजुर्वेद, सॉरी, ये 2 वेद में मतलब चैंट किया जाता है गॉड्स को मतलब गॉड्स के लिए ताकि आपको उनकी ब्लेसिंग्स मिले। क्योंकि ऋग्वेद में तो ये चीज़ मुझे समझ में आ रही है, यजुर्वेद में मुझे इतना ज़्यादा समझ में नहीं आया। जो सामवेद है उसका मुझे पता चल गया कि उसमें म्यूजिक के जो नॉड्स हैं, म्यूजिक के बारे में जो है वो डिस्कस किया गया है। और जो अथर्ववेद है उसके बारे में मुझे थोड़ी बहुत पहले इंफॉर्मेशन थी कि ऑकल्ट जो होती हैं जो चीजें उनके बारे में उसके अंदर जो है वो जिक्र किया गया है। लेकिन हाँ, लेकिन ये है कि मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि इन चीजों को समझना मतलब पहली मर्तबा में इतना आसानी है। ऑल्दो हमारे बहुत सारे सब्सक्राइबर्स हैं जिन्होंने हमें ईमेल करके मतलब इन सारी चीजों के बारे में बताया हुआ है, लेकिन मुझे लगता है कि एग्जैक्टली आपको एक गुरु चाहिए होता है जिससे आप चीजें जो है वो वन बाय वन समझ सको।
किसी भी स्क्रिप्चर की बात करें, बेशक वो कोई भी हो, उसको जो है ना आप खाली लाकर पढ़ भी लेंगे ना, आपको नहीं समझ लगेगी अनटिल अनलेस आपके पास एक अच्छा गुरु जिसके पास उस चीज की जो है प्रॉपर नॉलेज हो, वो आपके पास ना हो। क्योंकि एक गुरु होना बहुत ज्यादा जरूरी है, वरना चीजें जो है समटाइम्स इस तरह होती है कि आप जो है वो लिखी कुछ और तरीके से होती हैं, लेकिन आप उसे पढ़ और समझ किसी और तरीके से जाते हैं। तो इसलिए मैं इनसे बिल्कुल एग्री करता हूँ कि आपके पास जो है ना नॉलेज, एक जो है ना नॉलेजेबल गुरु होना बहुत ज्यादा जरूरी है ताकि आप जो है ना एक प्रॉपर जो है वो स्मूथनेस के साथ एक प्रॉपर ट्रैक पर जो है जा सके। बाकी ऋग्वेद और यजुर्वेद की मैं बात करूं तो ये तो जो लोग पढ़ते हैं, जो गुरु के साथ यानी कि उनकी एक साए में बैठ कर पढ़ते हैं, उन्हें ज़्यादा बेहतर जो है इसका नॉलेज होगा, बजाय इसके कि आप एक छोटा सा ओवरव्यू कर लें और उसके बिहाफ पर आप जो है समझने की कोशिश करें तो आपको उस तरह चीज़ों की समझ नहीं लगेंगी। सामवेद क्योंकि एक ये चीज़ बता दी कि ये कि भाई ये म्यूजिक पर है, बेसिकली जो म्यूजिकल इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स हैं या म्यूजिकल स्पिरिचुअल कनेक्शन जो है वो कैसे है। और लिटरली बहुत सारे जो है अगर म्यूजिक सेक्ट्स की बात करें इस तरह के हैं कि आप जो है कनेक्शन फील करते हैं, स्पिरिचुअलिटी उनमें फील करते हैं। और अथर्ववेद की बात करें तो भाई ये तो एक ऐसा हकीकत है ना कि
जो अभी के टाइम में भी
है, आप इसे डिनाई नहीं कर सकते। बहुत सारे लोग ऐसे भी हैं जो नहीं मानते इन चीज़ों को, लेकिन बहुत सारे ऑन दी अदर साइड मेजॉरिटी ऐसी भी जो इन चीज़ों पे बहुत ज़्यादा यकीन रखते हैं।
अच्छा, वैसे चारों वेदास की अगर हम बात करें तो जो बातें, जो डिस्कशन आगे चली और जो हम अपनी डेली रूटीन लाइफ में देखते हैं, तो जहां तक हमें समझ आ पाई ना, मुझे चारों चीज़ें मतलब जो चारों वेद हैं उनमें जो लिखा गया है वो आज के टाइम में नजर आता है कि ऐसा लाइफ में होता है। मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि मुझे मतलब लाइक सनातन धर्म के बारे में सबसे अच्छी चीज ये लगती है कि उसका जो देखने का नजरिया है ना वो बहुत बड़ा है और बहुत फ्लेक्सिबल है। I mean, इस तरह से नहीं है कि भाई मैं ही सही हूँ बाकी सब सही नहीं है, जो कि मुझे ज्यादातर फेथ में ये प्रॉब्लम नजर आती है कि उनका वो ये चीज नहीं समझते कि हर कोई सही है कहीं ना कहीं पर अपनी जगह पर, लेकिन वो हमारे मुताबिक सही नहीं होता, इसलिए हम उसको सही नहीं बोल रहे होते। और हम किसी के मुताबिक सही नहीं होते तो हम लोग कहते हैं नहीं वो सही नहीं है। तो मुझे लगता है कि ये चीजें समझने वाली हैं। दूसरा ये कि अभी जिस तरीके से बीच में एक म्यूजिक की वैसे बात की गई, तो मुझे हमेशा यही लगता है कि मैं बहुत ज्यादा कनेक्शन फील करती हूँ म्यूजिक के साथ। मैं हमेशा ये बात करती हूँ कि मैं किसी और दुनिया में चली जाती हूँ, चाहे वो थोड़ा एक मटेरियल वर्ल्ड वाला कनेक्शन है, लेकिन ये कि हाँ मुझे, लेकिन जब हम कोई ऐसा सॉन्ग सुनते हैं जिसमें जो कि आप कहें कि जिसमें आपका एक स्पिरिचुअल कनेक्शन बनता है, जैसे कि हम कहते हैं कि सूफी सॉन्ग होते हैं, उनमें हमारा एक ऊपर वाले के साथ कनेक्शन बनता है, उसमें भी एक म्यूजिक यूज होता है, उसमें भी जो वर्ड्स यूज होते हैं, जिस तरीके से उनको गाया जाता है, तो आपको एक कनेक्शन फील होता है ऊपर वाले के साथ। तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि ना जो अथर्ववेद है वो तो पता नहीं क्यों मुझे आजकल पाकिस्तान में एग्जांपल्स जो है वो नजर आ रहे हैं,
पूरी दुनिया में आपको एग्जांपल नजर आती हैं।
ये चीज हकीकत है कि मतलब हम लोगों को ये नहीं पता था कि पॉलिटिशियन जो है वो उसको यूज करते हैं पॉलिटिक्स में, लेकिन पिछले दिनों में काफी ज्यादा ये चीज जो है वो न्यूज में भी रही थी। और मुझे अच्छे से याद है कि हम लोगों ने डॉक्टर राधाकृष्णन की ही वीडियो देखी थी रणवीर शो में ही, और उसमें चाणक्य जी, क्योंकि उनको बहुत ज्यादा पढ़ा है डॉक्टर राधा कृष्णा जी ने, तो मतलब उन्होंने उस टाइम पर बताया था कि जो लोग मतलब ऐसे जंग पर जाया करते थे उससे पहले भी कुछ इस तरह से चीजें की जाती थी, और अभी भी आज के टाइम में भी वो, जैसे उन्होंने ये चीज डिस्क्लोज की है कि बहुत सारे पॉलिटिशियन भी इसको इस्तेमाल करते हैं। सो आई थिंक हर चीज कहीं ना कहीं पर किसी ना किसी फॉर्म में आज भी एग्जिस्ट कर रही है।
यार मैं थोड़ा पीछे से अब स्टार्ट करना चाहूंगा क्योंकि मानदी ने बहुत सारी बातें जो है वो कर दी हैं। तो सबसे पहले मैं स्टार्ट करना चाहूंगा जहां पर इन्होंने बात की कि कुछ रिलीजन्स ऐसे हैं जो ये कहते हैं कि भाई हम सही हैं, बाकी सारे जो हैं वो सही नहीं है। तो उसमें जो है जहाँ तक मुझे एक चीज़ जो है वो नज़र आती है, सबसे पहले लोगों का स्ट्रबन होना, कि लोग जो है चीज़ों को लेकर बहुत ज़्यादा स्ट्रबन हो जाते हैं। दूसरी चीज़ जो है, जो उन्होंने चीज़ कहीं से सीखी होती है, कहीं से पढ़ी होती है, उस पर एक प्रॉपर रिसर्च उन्होंने कभी की नहीं होती। और ये जो है ना मोस्टली यही केस होते हैं कि उन्होंने सुनी सुनाई बातों पे जो है यकीन कर लिया था, बस उनके लिए वो ही एक नॉलेज होता है। कभी खुद से रिसर्च नहीं करना, कभी किसी ऐसे गुरु से जो वाकई नॉलेज रखता हो उससे कभी कंसल्ट नहीं करना। तो उस वजह से जो है लोगों के अगर आप दिमाग देखें वो काफ़ी ज़्यादा बंद यहाँ पर पाए जाते हैं। फिर उसके बाद अगर आज के टाइम में बात करें अथर्ववेद की, तो ये जो है काफ़ी ज़्यादा आपको, खाली पाकिस्तान में मैं बात नहीं करूँगा, पूरी दुनिया में आपको ये चीज़ जो है वो नज़र आती है कि ब्लैक मैजिक का बहुत वाइडली इस्तेमाल किया जाता है। और लिटरली मैंने बहुत सारे लोगों से जो है इसके साइड इफ़ेक्ट्स जो हैं, जो उनकी ज़िंदगी पर होते हैं, जो कर यानी कि नहीं जो करवाते नहीं, जो अमल करते हैं। अच्छा। जो यानी कि जिन्हें जो बाबा होता है, जो बेसिकली तांत्रिक होता है, उनकी ज़िंदगी पे भी बहुत ज़्यादा इसके इफ़ेक्ट्स होते हैं। फिर उसके बाद जो है अगर हम बात करें, जैसे आपने पूजा की बात की कि जंग पे जाने से पहले जो है पूजा की जाती थी। अगर याद हो हमने जो रामायण देखी थी, ठीक है, उसमें भी जो कुंभकर्ण के एक भाई होते हैं वो भी आने से पहले जो है वो भी पूजा करते हैं। तो वाकई अगर ये चीज़ देखा जाए तो काफ़ी लंबे अरसे से जो है आपको शक्तियाँ प्राप्त करने के लिए, काफ़ी ज़्यादा चीज़ों के लिए जो है काफ़ी तरह के नॉलेज की ज़रूरत पड़ती रही है।
कुंभकर्ण के भाई, मैं रावण के भाई कह लो यार
वो मेरे दिन से नाम निकल गया था ना।
वैसे मुझे उनका नाम याद था क्योंकि उनको एक गॉड का भी नाम दिया गया था, मुझे नाम भूल गया उनका। हाँ। बट जिस तरह से ये एक बीच में महाभारत का जिक्र किया गया, ठीक है, जो कुंती जी हैं उनका जिक्र किया गया, तो क्योंकि महाभारत मैं देख रही हूँ, बीच में मैंने वैसे थोड़ा रोक दिया था, फिर उसके बाद दोबारा से कंटिन्यू किया, तो मुझे वो एक बैकग्राउंड स्टोरी समझ में आ रही थी सारी चीजों की, किस तरीके से उन्होंने कहा कि जो आप ब्लेसिंग्स लेने के लिए मंत्र जो वो चैंट करते हो, तो वो सारी चीजें तो मुझे समझ में आ रही थी। दूसरा ये मैं ये बात सोचती हूँ कि बहुत सारी ऐसी चीजें मैं यहाँ पर देखती हूँ और मैं ऐसी वीडियोस देखती हूँ, सो बाकी मैं मौजा वाली बात से भी अग्री करूंगी कि हम लोग कभी चीज़ें समझते नहीं हैं, हम लोग बस सुनते हैं और उसको फॉलो करना शुरू हो जाते हैं। जैसे बीच में मतलब यंत्र का डिस्कस कर रहे थे कि जो रुद्राक्ष का बीच में डिस्कस किया गया, नहीं रुद्राक्ष होता है आई थिंक, हाँ अगर मैंने गलत नाम नहीं लिया, तो उसका जब जिक्र किया गया, और हम लोग तावीज़ पहनते हैं, ठीक है, और हमारा भी तावीज़ पहनने का ये होता है कि हमें प्रोटेक्शन मिलती है ऊपर वाले की तरफ से। तो ये देखो एक कॉमन चीज़, एक सिमिलैरिटी आ गई कि अगर हम लोग ऑनेस्टली बोलूँ तो अरब में ये चीजें नहीं होती। अरब जो है वो इस चीज से नहीं मानते, पर बिलीव नहीं करता, ठीक है। हम लोग इस चीज पर, ये जो स्पेशली पाकिस्तान, बांग्लादेश और आई थिंक इंडिया अफगानिस्तान का मुझे नहीं पता कि अफगानिस्तान में भी ये सिस्टम है या नहीं, लेकिन ये जो मुस्लिम हैं ये काफी ज्यादा इस चीज पर एक यकीन रखते हैं। दूसरा हाँ मतलब सीरियसली कि ये हमें प्रोटेक्ट करते हैं किसी से। लेकिन एक और चीज़ ये भी है कि जिस तरीके से एक और चीज़ उन्होंने बोली कि उसको शो ऑफ नहीं करना चाहिए, आपको दिखाना नहीं चाहिए, मतलब ठीक है आप पहने, आप उसको अपने साथ रखें। तो इसमें भी यही होता है कि आप इसको अपने अंदर रखो और ज्यादा मतलब ऐसे बाहर निकाल के फिरो।
हाँ। आज की अगर सॉरी आपको इंटरप्ट कर दिया, आज के टाइम पर जो है ना अगर चीज़ों की बात की जाए ना तो लोग इसे जब बहुत ज़्यादा सुपरस्टिशियस से जो है वो रिलेट कर देते हैं कि तुम बहुत ज़्यादा वहमी हो। लेकिन ऑन दी अदर साइड मैं अगर अपने पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस की बात करूँ ना तो मैंने भी बहुत सारी चीज़ें जो है ऐसी एक्सपीरियंस की हैं कि अगर आप वो करते हैं ना तो कहीं ना कहीं जो है ना आपको उसके बहुत सारे बेनिफिट्स होते हैं। अब जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल यहाँ पे अगर नजरे बद जो है उससे बचने के लिए कहा जाता है काला धागा, ठीक है, आपको इस्तेमाल करना चाहिए, काला टीका लगाना चाहिए। अगर गाड़ी है आपने नई ली है तो आपको जो है वो उसके काला कपड़ा उस पे जो है बांध दे। तो अगर देखा जाए तो आपका जो
पानी से नजर उतारना,
पानी से नजर उतारना, बिल्कुल बिल्कुल
ये सारी चीजें जो होती हैं। फिर उसके अलावा ये जो लीमू वाली बात की गई थी ना, ये वो वाला तो मुझे यहाँ पर नहीं पता क्योंकि इतनी तवज्जो भी कभी नहीं दी, लेकिन लोग अंडों को लेकर यहाँ पर करते हैं, मैंने अक्सर देखा है।
एक और चीज है
चीनी दाल, इसको भी लेकर करते हैं।
यहाँ पे अक्सर जो है ना जो काले माश हम कहते हैं हैं उसे, काली दाल जो होती है वो अक्सर मैंने जो चीजें देखी है, लोग जो है ना सड़क के बीच में फेंक जाते हैं और लिटरली ये चीज इतनी बुरी लगती है। मैं कहता हूँ कि अगर आपने करना है आप किसी दरख्त के किनारे पे रख दें, लेकिन लोग जो है ना वो सड़क के ऊपर ही फेंक
और उसकी एक रीजन है, मतलब जो हमारे बड़े हमें बहुत मना करते थे कि हमेशा ध्यान से चला करो, जब रास्ते में चलते हो ना इधर उधर देखकर चला करो। और स्पेशली मतलब जैसे हम लड़कियां दुपट्टा लेती हैं तो ये भी कहते हैं कि आपका दुपट्टा जो ना वो मतलब जमीन पर ऐसे साथ नहीं लगना चाहिए, कि मतलब ऐसे गन
रगड़ता हुआ
नहीं जाना चाहिए। और उसका ये जो मौसम बता रहा है ना कि लोग सेंटर में फेंक देते हैं, तो उसकी एक रीजन ये भी बताई जाती थी कि जो किसी की प्रॉब्लम है ना वो उसकी खत्म होकर जो उसके ऊपर से टाप जाता है ना उसकी प्रॉब्लम बन जाती है, यानी उसकी किसी ना किसी
आफतें उस पे आना शुरू हो जाती हैं।
खत्म हो जाती है, लेकिन उसकी प्रॉब्लम्स जो है ना वो किसी ना किसी सूरत में आना शुरू हो जाती हैं। तो ये वाकई में बहुत गलत है कि आप अपने इतना सेल्फिश होकर आप सोच रहे हैं कि आप वो खुद जान छुड़ाने के लिए किसी को जो है ना उस प्रॉब्लम में डाल रहे हैं। और दूसरा पता है कि मैं हमेशा बचपन में एक चीज सोचती थी, इसके बीच में वो चीज का जिक्र भी किया कि हम लोग अक्सर मूवीज देखते हैं क्रिश्चियंस को, देखो वाकई में वो किसी अगर चर्च में जाएंगे, कोई नेगेटिव अगर एनर्जी है उससे छुटकारा पाने के लिए वो क्रॉस पहनेंगे, वो भी कुछ पढ़ते ही हैं, मुस्लिम्स भी कुछ पढ़ते हैं। अगर हम लोग देखते हैं कि बॉलीवुड मूवीज देखते हैं उसमें भी कुछ ना कुछ जो पंडित है वो पढ़ते हैं, हाँ तो कुछ ना कुछ चैंट किया जाता है। तो मैं ये सोचती थी कि मतलब ये इसमें क्या मतलब होता होगा कि सब लोग पढ़ते हैं तो उसका असर कैसा होता होगा। सो आज जहां तक मुझे समझ में आई है ना कि जैसे एक नेगेटिव एनर्जी होती है उसको काउंटर करने के लिए जो पॉजिटिव एनर्जी होती है, चाहे वो किसी भी फेथ के लोग हों, वो फॉलो जो भी करते हो तो वो पॉजिटिव एनर्जी जो है वो उसको काउंटर करती है।
यहाँ पर जैसे नूरी इल्म कहा जाता है जो कि पॉजिटिव एनर्जी होती है, और जो डार्क एनर्जी है उसे काला जादू, ब्लैक मैजिक।
मेरे ज़हन में ये चीज आती थी कि सिर्फ ये एक लाइन पढ़ने से हम लोगों को कैसे मतलब हेल्प मिल जाती है, मुझे ये चीज समझ में नहीं आती
यार। देखिए कुछ वर्ड्स ऐसे होते हैं कि आप जो है ना जब उन्हें पढ़ते हैं ना तो आप ये नहीं कह सकते कि भाई अगले दिन ही आपको जो उसका इफेक्ट नजर आना शुरू हो गया। एक टाइम पीरियड लगता है लेकिन आपको उसका इफेक्ट जरूर नजर आता है। और लिटरली लोग जो है हसद में आकर बहुत कुछ कर जाते हैं। जैसे बीच में एक जो है मैं जिक्र करूंगा, वो जो जैसे ब्रेसलेट की बात की थी उन्होंने, हाँ
बच्ची 4 साल की बच्ची,
हाँ चले वो 4 साल की बच्ची पे एक ब्लैक मैजिक था। लेकिन कुछ चीजें ऐसी होती है जो आपको एज ए गिफ्ट जो है ना मिलती हैं तो आप उन्हें काफी ज्यादा संभाल कर रखते हैं, लेकिन जो है वाकई इस तरह होता है कि वो आपको सूट नहीं करती, या उस पर कुछ इस तरह का हुआ होता है कि आप पे जो है ना उसके असरात होना शुरू हो जाते हैं। आपका एक्सीडेंट हो जाएगा, कभी कुछ हो जाएगा, वो कभी कुछ हो जाएगा, और जब आप उसे उतार के रख देंगे ना आप रिलैक्स फील करेंगे।
तो डर लग रहा है गिफ्ट लेने से, संभाल के लेने चाहिए। लेकिन एक और चीज जो ड्रीम्स वाली बात है, हमारे भी यहाँ पर ये बात बोली जाती है, मतलब बड़ों से हम लोग हमेशा ये सुनते आए हैं कि जी ख्वाबों में आपको कुछ ना कुछ इंडिकेट किया जाता है, बताया जाता है, उसका कुछ मतलब होता है, ऐसे नहीं ख्वाब आते। सो मैं ये देखती हूँ कि काफी सारी चीजें जो हम लोगों ने यहाँ पर मतलब हम लोग प्रैक्टिस कर रहे हैं वो बेसिकली अगर देखा जाए तो वो सनातन धर्म के कल्चर को ही हम लोग फॉलो कर रहे हैं। लेकिन ये है कि जिस तरीके से डॉक्टर राधाकृष्ण सर ने बोला कि जो पहली जनरेशन होती थी, ठीक है ना, वो बस एक एक ही बंदे पर ट्रस्ट कर लिया करती थी। और मुझे लगता है कि हमारे यहाँ पर पाकिस्तान में आज की भी जो जनरेशन है ना वो अभी भी ऐसी है। बहुत कम लोग ऐसे हैं जो कि वाकई में लॉजिक पर बिलीव करते हैं, या वो काउंटर करते हैं कि भाई अगर आप ऐसे कह रहे हैं तो अब इसके ऐसा भी हुआ होगा या ऐसा भी था, तो इसका क्या आपके पास जवाब है। वैसे मैंने ये देखा है कि जब हम लोग किसी से डिस्कशन करते हैं और बहुत अगर हम लॉजिकल क्वेश्चंस करना शुरू हो जाते हैं ना तो आपको उसके आंसर नहीं मिलते,
अगला बंदा उठ के चला जाता है,
स्टबन हो जाता है।
वही ना,
ये सही है,
यानी कि वही ना कहना, यानी कि जब आपके सवालों के जवाब नहीं होते वो आपसे उठकर जो है यानी कि बेजार होकर आपसे चला जाता है कि ये बंदा जो है मैं अब इसे किसी तरह काउंटर नहीं कर सकता अपने, यानी कि वो कहते हैं ना सवाल का जवाब ना देना, आगे से कोई ऐसी बात कर देना जो उससे रिलेट ही ना करती हो। तो इस तरह की चीजें जो है आपको काफी ज्यादा जो है वो सुनने को मिलती हैं। फिर उसके बाद एक और चीज जैसे वो मैं थोड़ा और पीछे जा रहा हूँ। म्यूजिक, वाकई म्यूजिक आपके मूड पर, आपके माइंड पर, आपके सराउंडिंग पे बहुत ज़्यादा इफेक्ट करता है। समटाइम्स कुछ वीडियोस ऐसी होती हैं कि भाई वो अच्छी नहीं होती लेकिन उनका म्यूजिक अच्छा होता है, आप उन्हें देख लेते हैं। समटाइम्स वीडियोस ऐसी होती हैं कि भाई उनके पीछे बैकग्राउंड म्यूजिक नहीं होता लेकिन वो वीडियोस बहुत अच्छी होती हैं, लेकिन आप जो कभी एक प्रॉपर नहीं देखते। इसकी सबसे बड़ी एग्जांपल मैं आपको दे देता हूँ। मूवीज आप देख लें, ड्रामास देख लें, उनमें म्यूजिक इतना वो आपके वो क्या कहते हैं, एक क्या इफेक्ट आपके ऊपर पैदा कर देता है कि आप देखना पसंद करेंगे, आप पूरी मूवी देखेंगे।
हम अक्सर म्यूजिक देखते नहीं, मतलब मूवीज हम कहते हैं ओ गूज़बम्प्स आ रहे हैं, वो क्यों आते हैं? वो इसी वजह से आते हैं ना,
करती है आपकी बॉडी पे,
कनेक्ट करती है कहीं ना कहीं अपने आप से। लेकिन एक और बात मैं ज्यादा ज्यादा बोलना चाहूंगी कि काफी सारी चीजें थी बीच में डिस्कस करने के लिए और सीखने के लिए। जो स्पाइन की बात की गई थी, अभी कल ही मैं अपनी बहनों को ये बात बोल रही थी कि देखो जो एक इंसान हेल्दी हमेशा वही है, मतलब अगर लंबे अरसे के लिए अगर हम लोग बात करें तो वो ये जिसकी स्पाइन जो है वो हेल्दी है। अगर आप फ्लेक्सिबल हो तो आप हेल्दी हो, तो ये चीजें बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट होती है। और जो चक्र के बीच में जिक्र किया गया, उन चक्र को मैंने काफी दफा पढ़ा है, लेकिन मुझे फिर वो प्रॉब्लम आती है कि मुझे याद नहीं वो इतना ज्यादा अभी रहती। लेकिन ये कि हाँ, ये हर चीज जिस तरीके से उन्होंने बताई कि जिस तरह से हमारे स्कैल्प का एक यहाँ से हिस्सा होता है बच्चे का, वो वाकई में बहुत ज्यादा सॉफ्ट होता है कि आप हाथ नहीं लगाते, वो इस तरह लगता है जैसे एक झिल्ली की तरह होता है कि इतना वो नर्म होता है।
ये वैसे मुझे फर्स्ट टाइम पता चली थी बात, ये मुझे इससे पहले नहीं पता था।
लेकिन मोक्ष आपको वहां से ही प्राप्त होता है, ये मेरे लिए एक नई चीज।
और स्पाइन की जहां तक बात करूं तो मैं, क्योंकि आजकल एक वेट लूज में एक वो कैंपेन अपनी अंदर ही चला रहा हूँ, यानी कि आजकल मैं अपना वेट कम कर रहा हूँ, तो मैं जब जिम जाता हूँ तो वहां पर जो है, क्योंकि एक होती है एक्सरसाइज जो कि आपने झुक कर लगानी होती है, तो उसमें जो है ना मुझे भाई पता चलता है कि जब मैं उसमें 4 से 5 बार झुक कर दोबारा खड़ा होता ना, मेरी स्पाइन की जो हालत होती है, तो मुझे वहां से पता चलता है कि भाई मेरी बॉडी कितनी स्ट्रॉन्ग है। भाई
मैं इसीलिए हमेशा हर किसी को रिकमेंड करती हूँ, योगा करो, मेडिटेट करो, बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है।
बिल्कुल।
बट ये कि क्योंकि बाकी कार्डियो आप कर लो, कुछ भी आप कर लो, लेकिन मुझे लगता है कि जो योगा से आपको एक सुकून मिलता है ना, आपकी बॉडी में एक फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी आती है, वो किसी और चीज से नहीं आती। इसलिए भाई मैंने तो अपना इस तरह से प्लान किया हुआ है आजकल के, मैं तो कुछ दिन कार्डियो कर रही हूँ और कुछ दिन मैं योगा को फॉलो कर रही हूँ। बाकी ओवरऑल आप जरूर बताइएगा कि हम किस हद तक चीजें अंडरस्टैंड कर पाए, और जिनको नहीं हम समझ पाए वो आप जरूर हमें कमेंट सेक्शन में बताना। और इसी के साथ हमें वीडियो
लाइक, सब्सक्राइब, शेयर, गुड बाय।